Hi, this is Rick, and in this short tutorial we're going to be seeing how to load leads into the system. So the first thing we need to do is to make sure that our lead files are properly formatted. As you can see, we have text documents, and text documents are just separated by a comma, and it's just one continuous line. The system will have trouble reading that, and it might cause errors if it does. So what we need to do is we need to format it properly into columns. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Excel, and since everything is on this first row, we're going to select it. We're going to hit data, and we're going to change text to columns. Comma delimited, let's select comma. Now everything's been separated, and as you can see now, first, last name, everything is separated. Now here we have an option that we can create a first row and label each one of these columns. Now this comes in handy later when you're loading the leads into the system, because you have to match the fields that need to be populated. So if it has phone number, then you can just select phone number, zip code, address, etc. I'm not going to do it right now, but you can do it if you need to. Now we need to also make sure that this file is in a readable format for the system. So the options I like to use is comma delimited CSV or Excel workbook. So let's go with an Excel workbook. And now we created our lead file. So what we're going to do now is we're going to log into the system, and let's go into VCDial. We log in as an administrator, and you can see we hit the admin screen. So we're going to go to lists, and we're going to see the lists that are assigned to this campaign. Now as you can see, the list ID, I usually put it in numerical format. You can use the name if you like. The list name, make sure you always use the same name as the file, so that way you always have a reference to go back to in case of anything. As you can see, I already had one, and let me, for all intents and purposes, I will delete this here. If you need to delete it now, you know how to do it. And in the description, I like to add in the date. I don't know why I didn't do it for these three, but I like to add in the date so I know how old the list is. So we know that on the 16th this was loaded. The lead counts shows you how many actual leads were loaded into each list file. And the call times, don't worry about it, it's whatever the campaign set to, and whether they're active or not, and when they were called last or not. So let's create a new list, and we're going to call it 305 like you saw. We're going to name it the name of the file I just created. We're going to add the date to make sure that we know when it's loaded. Select the campaign, and over here, if you choose to activate it from here, as soon as you load the leads, the list will be ready to roll. If you choose no, then you can come back later when they finish the other list and then activate it so you don't burn or cruise through the leads too fast. So we submit. And of course my computer decides to have issues right now. So let me disconnect and connect again. This is Windows 10 for you. And let's resubmit again. And as you can see, we created a list. List ID, the name, campaign, and all this stuff will be filled in once you start calling. Okay, so you can activate it here, or if you need to do a reset of the leads, which means that all the lead statuses will be resetted. Another campaign is pre-programmed for that, so only answering machines, busy signals, no answers, and new leads are called back. So don't worry about the send transfers or the upsells or anything like that being mixed into that. So what we're going to do next is we're going to hit load new files, or load new leads, sorry, and we're going to load the leads from this file. So we're going to hit browse. We're going to go to the file we created. The list ID override, what we want to do is choose the one that we did. This is why it comes in handy to put the same name. File layout to use, we're going to use a custom template. And if you want to do a duplicate check, what you can do is that you can go in here into the in all campaign lists, which all those lists that we just saw, if we have a duplicate number coming in through this new upload, then what this will do, it'll prevent it from loading the list. Now considering that I'm using a real list, I just gave it another name and it's already loaded into the system. If I was to use a duplicate check right now, then all numbers would be rejected since it's already a list with exactly the same thing. So everything else we don't worry about, and we just hit submit. And what you're going to have is the screen. Now that first row we talked about, this is where it comes in handy, because now as you see, everything is labeled here, and the system reads the first row. So since I did not label them, it's actually giving the lead information. So you have to make sure you do it right. Put the phone number, the first name, last name, and your address, city, the state, and for some reason the first few rows was missing numbers, so I know that's the zip code. I saw an email address, and this is all the stuff that'll be pre-populated whenever the call comes into the agent. So we OK to process, and as you can see, it's done. We have 959 leads that were good out of 959. Now, if you have any bad leads, for let's say that there's a phone number missing, or there's only 3 or 4 digits in the phone number out of 10, then it'll consider it a bad lead and it will not load it. Now, also, if you create that first row, for this reason, if you have that first row labeled, it will always create a bad lead, because you will label where the phone number field is phone number instead of phone number, so it'll detect that as a bad lead. So now if we go back in here, we can see that this list has been loaded. It's not active yet, and 959 leads have been loaded. Now if we go to this one right here, you can see that this was called today, and you can see right here that the status is answering machines, busy signals, the cross sales 54, do not calls 152, new leads we still have 4,121 out of 9,000. So we see that we called 5,155 leads, and we still got another 4122 left to call. Now when we reset the lead statuses, then what it'll do is it'll reset this A, B, which is answering machine, the auto answering machine, the busy, the N and NAs, which is the no answers and no answer auto dials, and anything that's new, if it's still any new in there. Okay, so the not interested and everything else is not, and we can modify it and change it as we need to. And that is how you load leads into the system. Have a great night.